it might be worth just very rapidly skimming through some of the, if you like, the big stories of the last year. And the first, perhaps almost foremost, the college is to talk about social prescribing, which was invented by the college and was has been advanced and championed by the college, with the national network of social prescribing now part of the college. And it's going fast and furiously. We have 3,500 link workers nationally. We have 30 different countries, which I was in a meeting with at 1 o'clock today, all taking it forward, some faster than others. That's to say, having achieved our end of it becoming national policy and available to every patient and GP, there are issues. There are long waiting times now for many of them, and increasingly they're having to take on larger workloads. The waiting times and the workloads means that there's a danger of it being dumbed down and of social prescribing becoming simply signposting rather than in-depth helping people to achieve their potential and motivating them to be able to do so. And there are issues around the strength of the voluntary sector and the national support that social prescribing getting. But perhaps these are the pleasant challenges of actually having achieved our ends of making it national policy. We're continuing to work our national network with the National Academy of Social Prescribing, and as I say, internationally it's going very fast, with WHO now very much involved as well. That's social prescribing. The other big initiative we've launched ourselves was Beyond Pills, if you remember, based upon the chief pharmacist's report showing that we were prescribing 10% too many pills in the NHS. And that has now become an APPG, an all-parliamentary group of different MPs from different parties, entitled itself alongside our own initial title of Beyond Pills. And Simon Ofer, who's MP for Gloucestershire, is very much in the lead of that, with Lord Crisp and a number of allies taking it forward. And with the meetings increasingly trying to power this movement towards less pills, if you like, the scandal of 20% of patients being on antidepressants, and the vast use of antibiotics, not always appropriately. And this movement is going very fast and furiously. Now, looking around the room, many of you are also at our annual 3-day conference in collaboration with the organisers Versha and Sophie. We had 2,500 people this year at the conference, and it was a real buzz. We had the Surgeon General from the USA, Vivek Murthy. We had some extraordinary presentations, including that amazing one by Dan Bertner, showing how those people that lived to very long ages in different parts of the world, what was the common thread there? And interestingly, he's now setting up blue zones elsewhere in America, and we're hoping that we will be collaborating with him to set up the first blue zone in the UK. But that conference, I think, was, as our fourth conference, shows that integrated and personal care has really come of age. And at that conference, I was very keen to emphasize that it's now mainstream and that we now need to talk about personal medicine being medicine that works for you, rather than this idea of a one-size-fits-all medicine that we impose upon people and they just have to fit the right boxes. And personal medicine, sometimes life-saving medicine, will be conventional approaches to cancer, heart disease, and the like of it. But quite often, it'll be our own idiosyncratic elements in our own history, belief systems, and history that will require different approaches for particularly problems concerned with the mind, musculoskeletal system, and the rest. And we need to be more open-minded, and this needs to become part of what we do routinely, rather than there being the old divides between the arts and science and between complementary, conventional, and all the rest of it. So that conference already we're into planning for next year. Um, Other things, we published our prescribing in schools report. Do have a look at it. It was very interesting because what we found was that social prescribing in schools works best when the social prescribing link worker is external to the school rather than a member of the staff. Partly because of the attitude of the pupils to the social prescriber, partly that of the school, because with schools being as pressed as the health service, quite often the social prescribing link workers in schools were being hauled in to do all sorts of other tasks other than social prescribing. And I think that report lays the template of how we should be looking at social prescribing in schools in future. The idea of the King was that we should look at twinning farms with GP practices, and that project is going in from strength to strength. We've looked at farms in Bristol. We're now looking at a very mixed farm in Stroud, and the next hope is to map out all the different initiatives that are going on in farms and in estates throughout the country, and also to see what the added benefit is, and to produce a piece of work that will enable others to take it on, and particularly farmers who may not think this is going to be something that they would want to do. But increasingly what we're finding as a sub-effect of this scheme is that not only does it benefit the patients going to the farms, but often the farmers themselves are quite isolated and find that the input is really helpful. We've had our future leaders meeting in Windsor early this year. We've got a booming student council now, and lovely to see Rachel and others here at the meeting this afternoon. And it was wonderful to be able to introduce them to the NHS leaders, because we had a closed meeting with the Chief Medical Director of the NHS, Sir Steve Powis, and also the health director, who is Sir Chris Whitty, and others leading the construction of the 10-year plan. And it was really good to have a closed meeting when we could involve not only our young leaders but also the students as part of that evolving policy. We've got the Eat Well Community Project, which you'll hear about later from James Fleming up in Burnley, which is going from strength to strength. And I'm not going to talk about any more of the projects because you're going to hear about them very shortly. What I do want to do, though, is to thank the team that have been supporting all of this. Amanda, who is if you like, the rock of the college, and who has, through thick and thin, amidst all the confusion we try to create for us, managed to hold the thing together and keep us to task, supported by wonderful members of staff, Sue Tate, Claire Gaskin, and Kay Bryn-Hussey, who has brought some financial concentration to us, and you'll be hearing the report afterwards. Thanks to our trustees, Simon Fielding, Naveed Akhtar, and Sarah Bazin, who you'll be hearing from shortly, not to mention Michael Dooley. And I suppose the only other thing to say is that this year I was greatly pleased that Sir Sam Everington was chosen by the council and accepted to become co-chair of the college. And I think that gives us much strength. It gives us one good, solid thinking mind, apart from my fluffy philosophical thinking. We need somebody with Sam's measure in the college, and it's been great to have the support of Sam as co-chair. And as I sort of hive off, and shortly we'll hear from Sarah Bazin, I just want to go over to Sam just to ask Sam for his reflections on his first 6 months as co-chair.
Well, very exciting first 6 months. It's amazing what's going on in the organization, fantastic staff. What we do on minimum resources is quite amazing, and particularly I'm referring to the staff and all the team that we have. Um, Social prescribing in particular is obviously one of my big focuses. I'm a GP at the Bromley by Bow Centre. We have 3,000 visitors through there a year. And just a quick reflection on that, both opportunities and threats. So in the health service, probably a threat to potentially the reduction of the number of social prescribers. And so I've been working very closely with Sian Brand, who's going to join us later, on the social prescribing network, and looking at the newsletter that goes out. We're approaching various people to find their story and get their picture, and that will go out in the newsletter and then on our website, which helps define, in a sense, what we are actually, because we are the people that do amazing things within the organization, the members and the staff of the College of Medicine. That was a threat in terms of the health service. I'm working on that, working closely with some of the leaders of NHS England and DHSC, but also there's an opportunity. So I've now organised a meeting of DWP, Department of Work and Pension, and NHS England and Department of Health and Social Care in September, where we're going to look at detail in the whole issue of sick notes. There are 2.8 million people who are on benefits, more than you'd expect in European countries. A lot of this is mental health in the young, and there's a very serious issue here about the impact, what we call deconditioning in the elderly, in an 80-year-old in a bed for 10 days, lose 10% of their muscles, equivalent to 10 years inactivity. Well, just imagine for a moment that you're at home looking at four walls for 1 week, and how does that make you feel, both physically and mentally? And when that goes on for weeks and months in some of our younger generation, that is devastating and very hard to reverse. The opportunity lies in the fact that actually, although big business and the NHS provide occupational health services, and some small businesses do, on the whole, people fall very much back on general practice, and general practice don't have the sort of support systems to actually help a lot of these patients. And therein lies, in a sense, the journey for the social prescriber. And so the discussion with the Department of Work and Pension is upskilling the social prescribers within primary care to provide this sort of service to keep people in work and get people back to work. And then the final thing I'd say is the conference, as Micah said, was incredibly exciting. It's just full of a buzz every year. And it's people coming from all around the world. But the other side of the equation is the massive number of countries that now have embraced the social prescribing that we very much started in the UK. And just in the last year, I've done 4 international lecture tours, including one in Singapore, where I was invited by the health minister, who's visited us many times in England at Bromley by Bow, but also more generally to members of the College of Health, to do the keynote speech on social prescribing. And it's really taken off in Singapore. I've done a lecture tour in Sweden. I've done one in France. And just a month ago in Northern Ireland, where you have a health minister and the head of the health service there, the civil service side of it, absolutely keen and engaged in this whole mission that we're part of, personalized medicine, what matters to individuals. They recognize that actually traditional approaches, classical biomedicine, is not going to solve the poor health of our society, particularly life expectancy difference between rich and poor, 10 years, and the quality of life expectancy by 2040, 20 years difference. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you live in a deprived area, you can expect to hit chronic disease at the age of 50. And if you're in a wealthy area, the age of 70. And all of that revolving around lifestyle. So incredibly exciting year. We're clearly also working finally very closely with the National Academy of Social Prescribing, who've surfaced much of the research which shows the value for money from social prescribing. And I was in the last year appointed patron. So my reflection from the bridge, as I was asked to do, is that the College of Medicine has gone from strength to strength. I love working with the team, and it's great to be able to support them in all the hard work they do and all you do as members.